just briefly too, but today we have an opportunity to get to know the two families that are leading the two other churches that are partnering with us. And I have to tell you, just from my place in this group, that it's a pretty interesting thing to see or not see what God is doing. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, what's going to be happening, I could have never told you that this would be happening. And yet God, in his own mysterious way, has brought along two groups and two leaders that I find significant and am thrilled to partner with. Let me invite up Bill and Jenny first, Denning. They're going to share about River Oaks, and then Felipe and Carmen, if you'd come join us as well. They pastor the La Fuente. Felipe, why don't you start by sharing briefly your story of what got you to this place, what got you here to Raleigh, and how you decided to start a church here, and how you ended up in this building.
Well, we are from the Dominican Republic, first of all, and I was pastoring there for about 11 years. And then the church of the group that I was part of, they decided to send us to New York to work in the Bible college as a chief teacher for another 4 years. And then we moved to Columbus, Ohio, to start church because there...
Because no place needs to be evangelized more than Columbus, Ohio.
We don't have any Spanish-speaking churches there by then, and that was in 1998. So we moved there, and we started to planting churches there. And after 11 years, we've been there from 1998 to April, March this year. So after 11 years, we live in 7 churches there, established with pastor. So we moved here thinking that was for my two daughters' education. One is in North Carolina State, the other one just finished. She is about to go to do the MBA in a different college. And when we come here, we start to feel that it's not fair just to walking around, go over the place and see so many people who speak Spanish. And I started looking around in the internet and met people. And I found out that in all this area is no Spanish churches. So I started to contact to the churches around here, and some people answered me back, but Elaine, she answered me with very nice email, and I said, okay, I think I go this way. I love these people. I don't know those people, but I love them already. So I started to go with them, and that is how we get here, and this is the way that we all start here. And thank you for all your support and everything that we do, and I hope God continue, and I know He will continue to put us all more together day by day to continue this work.
Bill, tell us a little bit of your story.
Well, I've been a pastor since 1982, and I grew up here in North Carolina, just south of here, down in Johnston County, so I speak good Southern. If you hang around me, you'll see that. And if you hang around me long enough, I'll teach you how to talk right, too. So, do that. We ended up in Alexandria, Virginia in 1990. I took a senior pastor position there in a good-sized church, and God did some great things there. But throughout the 10.5 years that we were there, I just had this passion and this desire to be involved in planting new churches. As a matter of fact, our church in Alexandria actually helped a couple of churches. One in particular did a lot of work with in helping get started. And in 1999, God began to stir my heart about making a move. And one thing led to another. We ended up here in Raleigh. We knew 2 families when we moved to Raleigh. One was an elder at Colonial Baptist in Cary, and the other one was an elder at Providence across the street. So neither one were members or potential members for our congregation at that point. But we moved here in 2000. And I've been at this church planting thing now for about 10 years. We've seen our ups and downs. Our church, River Oaks, is actually the combination of a merger between the church that my wife and I planted in 2003 and a church that David Smith, whom you do not know, planted a couple of years earlier. And a long story there, I'll share with you sometime how that happened, but we merged in '05, and then David left to take a church in Rhode Island, and the church called me as lead pastor, so we've been moving along there. Back in January of this year, we began to pray about a new place to meet. We had lost a lease on the building we had over near Capitol Boulevard, had been meeting at Evergreen Community Center for a couple of years, been stockpiling some money because we knew it was going to take some money to upfill the building. And so in January, we began to ask the question, what does God want? And I really challenged our folks not to be concerned about what they think or what they want or what they like or what they don't like or what they think ought to be happening, but to really petition heaven and say, God, what do you want? And it's kind of a neat thing because we began looking at lots and lots of property. As you know, in our real estate in our area here, the commercial market, there's lots of property available now, and which was unlike 2007 when we lost the lease on the building. We couldn't find anybody that wanted to talk to us. So that's why we ended up in a Raleigh Parks and Rec building. Long story short, we looked at lots and lots of properties, just could not find a place that would seem to work for us. And so in the midst of this, we began exploring the possibility that God may be calling us to do something different than what we initially thought. That maybe what God was wanting us to do is to find a place a little larger than what we were looking for, and a place we could have multiple churches meeting there to get better use out of the kingdom and or out of the building for the kingdom. And so we came across a property up at Westgate and Glenwood, and we met with the broker there, looked at the property, really liked it, felt like this is something we could do and could expand and see other churches involved with us. The broker then told me that there was this little issue of the zoning for the airport, and churches couldn't meet there and all. And so so I said very confidently, well, I know a pastor who had something here. He said, yeah, Ed. I said, yeah, Ed. And I said, my boys came to the greenhouse, and Ed did something to get it here, so let's see what we can do. And one thing led to another. A talk with Ed, discovered that it was just not going to happen there. But in the conversation, Ed said, well, let me tell you what God has been leading Evergreen to do, which was so very similar to what God had been stirring our hearts about. I met with Ed in August. He and I just met here one morning and visited for a while. I really knew in my heart at that point this is what we're supposed to do. Now, if you get to know me, you will know that I am a doer. I have no reverse. I mean, I'm always moving forward. Yes, Mama, she's smiling. She knows that's true. As a matter of fact, I am
Probably
such
don't
a...
want to ask her because
but the Lord really... The Lord really spoke to me, though. When I left here, I knew this is what we were supposed to do as a church, but the Lord really spoke to me and said, don't say it to anybody. Don't tell anybody. Challenge the folks at River Oaks to continue to say, God, what do you want? And let's see what God says to the body. It's the most amazing thing. Just individual after individual. People who at first were saying, this sounds like a good thing, but I don't believe we should do it, coming around and saying, I really have sensed God saying, let's move. So that's how we ended up here. I didn't until about 3 weeks or so before we told you guys that we would make this move. I didn't even share with our congregation what I believe God was saying all along to us, but I waited till He spoke to the body. It's been kind of neat to see God doing this. So we are just thrilled about being here and about what you guys are doing and what we can do together for the kingdom.